At this point, every time NASCAR comes to Indianapolis, we have this debate. It's become a yearly thing. So you know what? We're going to have just about a yearly video on it. There is probably an opinion from everyone that differs in some different way about what NASCAR should do with Indianapolis. Should it bring back the Brickyard? Should it stay on the road course? Should it go to IRP? Should they just not be there to begin with? It's the great Brickyard debate. And we're going to look at the two biggest factions of this. Those who want it back on the oval and those who want to stay on the road course. Yes, others think other ways, but these are the two predominant traits when it comes to this debate. So, let's get to it. To start with, we're going to look at those who wanted to stay on the road course. The biggest one that I see a lot of people bringing up is that the racing itself is better than the oval. Many people weren't a fan of the oval, like we'll talk about in a bit, and the road course has offered some crazy moments. While they might be some carnage and unpredictability, people love that stuff, and they're going to want to see that happen because, especially in the playoff era, having somebody come out of nowhere to win, even if they're not necessarily a deserving winner, is something that can really draw intrigue to the finish of the season, seeing how there's only 12 races left after this. So, while people may not like that in a traditionalist standpoint, there are those who really like the idea of new people coming up, getting wins, and not really having to go through the same kind of strategies or just pure speed that someone would need to win at an oval. Also, some just favor road course racing. Yes, among NASCAR fans, it's not relatively popular, but road course racing is something especially younger fans really like to watch. Because of this, many say that NASCAR should stay on this for the long term because road course racing is more palatable to the younger fans that they want to bring in. Plus, there can be strategy when it comes to road course races or carnage, depends on which one, and road courses to many excel on this. Plus, like I said, many think the oval was boring. And they will cite over 25 years of single-file racing, of spread-out strategic racing that really didn't go anywhere, of only a couple finishes with the oval and the Brickyard 400 that actually mattered in the grand scheme of things that people can look back on fondly. Let's not forget that back in 2019, 20, 21, we were all talking about just how bad the Brickyard was and how it was a dead event. Many are going to bring that up and say that people in a short amount of time have forgotten what the long-term view on this was, and from there, well, you can kind of see where they're coming from. Look at videos made 3, 4, 5 years ago. I even have some on my channel that talk about why the Brickyard just wasn't going to work in NASCAR, how the event had run its course and something needed changed. People will say, well, you got your change and now you're complaining about that too. I can see where people are coming from with it because people did bring this up a lot, and it was one of the biggest schedule talking points for about a decade. Also, when it comes to this race, many say that NASCAR doesn't even deserve to be on the oval, that should be reserved strictly for IndyCar, and if NASCAR does go in the oval, it should be sparingly. I don't know necessarily the merit behind this, but a lot of purists do think this, especially fans of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and if you look at viewership and attendance, that sort of speaks to it as well. And then one that many bring up now that has just come up this year is we can't get rid of it. It's bringing in tons of international attention. Look at all the different drivers coming into this race this weekend who wouldn't be coming to an oval race. They're coming because it's a road course that fits their style more of racing, and it would open up NASCAR to a worldwide audience. People will say, how can you get rid of a race like that when it's bringing so much attention that otherwise wouldn't be there? And you know what? They do have a point no matter what side of it you stand on. Now let's look over at those who want to bring back the oval. This is probably the biggest faction, or at least the loudest faction of fans when it comes to this debate. And the points that they bring up are relatively good ones when you look at the grand scheme of things as well, which is why this debate is a really good one. First off is tradition. Yes, IndyCar has the richest tradition at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but the Brickyard 400 really was the first race on the oval that wasn't the Indy 500 in decades. And for years, it was traditionally one of the biggest races on the schedule. Some of the biggest viewership of the season was at Indianapolis. The biggest attendance of the season was at Indianapolis. Some of the biggest payouts was there. And people are saying that that needs to be brought back. That there is something missing from the late summer schedule when you don't have Indianapolis in that August date for the Brickyard 400. That so many great drivers won there, and so many forged parts of their legacy there, like Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson. And some are saying that it needs to come back for that tradition standpoint. Drivers are missing something from their resume because they don't have a shot at getting it. And that's another thing. The majority of the drivers do want this. For years, ever since the change, drivers have been saying that they need to go back to the oval, or they need to try it or test it, and now they are. And if drivers are happy, and they probably should get thrown a bone or two, seeing how some of the changes haven't been to their favor, that probably would make things a lot more tolerable for many of them in the field. And also, there's the intrigue of the next gen. Look at Pocono. Pocono is probably one of the most similar tracks racing-wise to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval, and 2 years in a row they have had great races, and this next-gen car has elevated it a ton. And the next-gen car elevates most tracks that aren't super speedways that are over 1.5 miles long. So there is a bit of intrigue that can be justified with this as well when you look at what it's done for other tracks that fans would quote-unquote call boring. Also, TV ratings are a big one as well. The TV ratings for the Brickyard 400 were always pretty big. They were one of the few races that were past the initial post-Daytona 500 side of the season that would always top 4 million or 5 million viewers a year. It was consistently a ratings juggernaut for NASCAR, and there's no doubt that it would outpace the road course, seeing how road course racing generally gets lower ratings than pretty much any type of racing in NASCAR except short tracks. So that is something I think NBC would really be pushing for. People now kind of know what they forgot, know what they lost, and they want it back. So there'll be the intrigue, and you can promote it with the Olympics next year. There could be plenty of ways to have a ratings bomb in a great way. Also, you got to look at making it special again, and this would make this part of the schedule special again. Like I said, drivers love it, many fans love it, and there would be the tradition brought back, and tradition is something sorely lacking from modern NASCAR for the most part. So there is that too, and all of this would make it a crown jewel, a much needed crown jewel at that for NBC. Yes, they have the Southern 500, but it's not treated as anything except the start of the playoffs and is shoved to USA Network right at the start as well, usually getting some pretty poor ratings. This race would be on big NBC with tons of promotion and really no other competition around it in the sports market that day. And NBC really would need this as well, since they would be ramping up promotion for both Daytona at the end of the regular season, as well as promoting the playoffs for many fans who may not otherwise watch unless they saw this big race or big NASCAR races in general. So there is a lot of reason to bring it back too. Now, I know I rambled a lot about that, and I will quickly give you what I think. I do think that it probably should be brought back. Maybe not every year, maybe interchange it with the road course, but the ratings will not lie for this, and NASCAR definitely is starting to get on the up and up and would need another boost to get to that next level. I do think that it would bring a bit of specialness to the schedule if done right, and having been at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in recent years, I appreciate the history a lot more too, and I think a lot of people should go and probably would go and maybe even get hooked to this event. So that's just my take on it. Now I want to pass this all on to you. Should they go back to the oval, run the Brickyard 400 again and try and resurrect it? Or should they stick to the Indy road course and make a new tradition, or at least a new race that many will look forward to for many different reasons outside of the way they used to look at Indianapolis? Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Or do you think it should be something completely different, IRP, or just leave Indianapolis as a city altogether? Let me know down below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, Have a good one.